Wonderful. And we're live again. And this week, we've got a big kit to take a look at. So, welcome back everyone to another Vector 3D live stream. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I'm never normally late. He lied. Yep. So, and apologies for anyone that found the tweet that went out at 10 to 7 instead of 20 past 7. That should have been in time for now. Apologies for that. Anyway, we're getting on with it as quick as we can now. This is the V-Core 3 by Ratrig. So they're a company based in Portugal, and I requested from them that I take a look at one of their machines, and they were, at the time when I requested that, they were like, we've got this cool machine coming out, wait a little bit and we'll get one to you. So here we are now. This is what they've sent. It's obviously a DIY kit, so this is not kind of just get it out the box and you're done sort of arrangement. If you're looking for that, maybe some of the other streams will be more useful. This is really all the nuts and bolts kind of DIY kit. So if that's what you're into, then this stream should be good for you. Also, of course, if you're looking at getting a Ratrig machine, this one specifically, then of course this hopefully will provide you some information or show you some pitfalls that you might want to avoid as you go through that process yourself. So, wonderful. Looks like we've got a good bunch of people here, so we're pretty much ready to get going. This is a sponsored stream, so while it's not being paid, it is sponsored by Ratrig because they sent the kit, by Duet because they sent a control board, and by 3D Printz because they sent the extruder. So big thank you to all three of those companies for providing products for this live stream, or well, it will be multiple live streams, I should mention. In fact, quite a few live streams probably, looking by the size of the kit. So yes, this is going to be very good. So I'm just going to do a very quick sponsor message. It's like 15 seconds, just as a thank you, and then we can get going. This live stream would not have been possible without our sponsors, Ratrig, Duet 3D and 3D Printz. So a big thank you to them for supporting the live stream. Carry on watching to find out more, or you can follow the links in the video description. Wonderful, oakley dokley. There will be another sponsor segment later on, which gives you a little bit more information about what we're looking at in terms of those three different companies. So hello to everyone watching. I know we've got some people here from like designers of the machine, as well as people from the Ratrig unofficial Discord group. So welcome to all of you. Perhaps some of you have not been here before, so great to see you. Apart from that, everything should be sort of the same as normal. We'll be taking a look from as many different angles as we can, as well as having all the instructions on screen. So if you want to be trying to follow along, then you can do that. I don't really know where to get started, but if we go to the instructions quickly, oh, that worked well. In that black square there should be instructions. It was working earlier, I promise. It's just decided to not work now. Huh? Oh, there we go. Cool. That was weird. Okie dokie. So there's the Ratrig Dozoki, which is like a kind of wiki-based instructions guide you might be familiar with. So this is all the steps that I'm going to be going through in the live streams. We'll run through 0 through 10. I've not looked at them in detail. This is quite a I say unprepared, like it's obviously sort of prepared, but I've not looked at all the details. I'm not going to know everything in advance of things going wrong. Things can and may go wrong. That's probably going to happen, but we'll deal with it as we go. That's going to be that. Are you printing the parts? I am not printing the parts, but that is options. So if you look at the configurator, James, I mean, maybe you already did and you're asking for other people, but anyway, there is a configurator And you can have whatever options you do and don't want. So if you can print the parts yourself and you want to print the parts yourself, you can do that. But this specific kit is what I'm calling their kind of default kit. They've got a default configuration, and that's basically if you're not really sure what to get, you're not really sure what to buy or what choices to make, then that kit is just a this is everything and you can build a kit from it kind of option. So if that's more your style, or you're maybe buying, I don't know, it's there. It's a good option to have, so as a baseline. But there are lots of other options as well. I don't really know where to start. Let's have a look at operations, see if it suggests anything immediately that I need to do before I do anything else. So this implies that all the parts are already out of the box. So let's start by having a look at the parts. I want to have a look at these extrusions first. So we're going to very carefully use a craft knife to cut open this package. So the majority of the extrusions on this machine are 30-30, so 30 millimeters by 30 millimeters, and obviously whatever length they need to be. So that's standard aluminium extrusion, but I believe there's also some 20 by 20 as well. This is a lot of things to deal with. Although aluminium is a fairly low density material, when you get a lot of it, it's obviously still quite heavy. So it's all fairly well protected. I mean, it's quite difficult to damage aluminium extrusions, but they are protected in this kind of foam stuff, all wrapped up tightly, as well as obviously in that cardboard box, which I've just removed. So, oh, this looks like some, yeah, so we've got lead screws inside the extrusions, which is a good way to protect lead screws during transit. A lot of the Chinese companies that ship printers do exactly the same thing, and while some people can keep them hidden in the extrusion and still manage to build the machine, normally they fall out and they're quite easy to find, so not too bad there. Ooh, looks like they're packed up in groups of 3. We've got loads and loads of lead screws. I say loads and loads. I believe it's 3 because you got a 3-point motion bed. Let's get this third one, wherever that's gone to. So there you go. That's the 3 lead screws. So this is the 300 by 300 by 300 kit, so 300 millimeter cube. I chose that size, well, it's the default configuration, and also I think it's a good size for me because I am quickly running out of space. I know it looks like I've got lots of space behind me, but that's because everything is piled up over the other side to keep that space clear for taking pictures of the workbench, etc. So yes, running out of room, and this is about the biggest size I have space for at the moment. So here we go. This is a piece of 20. It looks like 20, but it also looks like it might be 15. I was right first time. This is 2020. So it looks like there's one piece of 2020. Maybe that's for the X-axis. We'll find out later. Oh, maybe there's more bits. Nope, 30. There's quite a lot of packaging around these. It's in here somewhere. Yeah, last 2 parts. So quite a lot of extrusion there. Should form a pretty strong frame using all of this. It doesn't look like the ends are threaded in any of them. The cuts look fairly good. There's no they're not particularly sharp at the ends. They've been reasonably well deburred and whatnot. Sometimes you can have a lot of burr on the edge of the material, which can be sharp and damage your hands, but this doesn't look too bad. This one's not so good, but generally just don't handle it right at the ends and you'll be fine. Again, there's no thread in the ends of these, so obviously that's not a strategy that's being used for the assembly. That's what the ends look like. There you go, very nice. this up a bit maybe. So while I've got most of them out, what I'm going to actually see if I can do is, do I have a tape measure to hand? I just want to have an idea in my head of the lengths, so when we come to them later, I know what I'm looking for. So 440, 440, 510, 505, and then some odd lengths over here, by the looks of it. 420, 450, 510, 450, 505, and then the 2020. So I don't think we're going to need these immediately, although probably quite early on in the assembly. These are just going to go back here for now, and I'll grab them over when I need them. Just so you have an idea of expectations of what we're planning to do today, we are going to be starting the assembly. I can guarantee we won't be finishing it though. It's probably going to be an hour and a half or 2 hours or so, something like that. We should get some of the first steps done, maybe as much as the whole frame. I don't really know because I've not looked through the instructions in detail, but we're not going to be doing the first print today. That'll be later down the line. Yeah. I was going to say something else, but I've forgotten what I was going to say, so we'll just carry on. So this is the other box that you get with your shipment. They do come, they're not in another big box, they come kind of separately, but together at the same time. As you can see in the corner here, mine did take a bit of a hit by the looks of it, so everything inside seems to be okay. So reasonable packaging. The downside of having lots of loose bits in a box like this is that they don't provide any further structure to the rest of it. So the box is obviously providing all the structure for holding everything inside, which is okay. Obviously, when you have like the pre-packaged kind of pre-built machines, your whole packaging kind of fits to all the inside shapes and holds it all very rigidly, which obviously helps keep stuff together inside. Because this is a kit, you don't really have that advantage. But again, because the bits are loose, they don't seem to be damaged. So that's pretty good. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've got all the parts printed for me. You can buy them when you buy the kit. So we've got this really nice kind of bright green for most of the parts. There's a few black pieces in here as well. If we're not going to go through every single piece immediately, but I'll just see if I can get some parts maybe on the camera and you can have a look at the quality of the printing. Come on, camera, please focus. How does a macro lens have so much difficulty focusing on stuff that's close? I think it's maybe because there's a hole in the middle. There you go. That's what the bottom layer looks like. Just in case you can't see it particularly well after it's come through the YouTube compression and everything. The print quality does look quite good. I wouldn't say it's 100%. To me, it looks like there's a bit of under extrusion, but only, I mean, literally a very tiny little bit. And it looks like we're going to need these parts back. I think I saw that in the preparations. The holes where you have like countersunk holes, they've got like a bridge in them, which needs to be broken. So we're probably going to need these parts fairly soon to get a start on that. Also in the box we have a bag in a box. This looks like what's going to hold the frame together. Excuse me. So we've got a bunch of like steel angles. So that's obviously how the frame is held together. From my experience, they are pretty good. They're fairly rigid, those corners on your smaller sections. When you get up to the bigger stuff, like the workbench behind me, they tend to not be quite so good. but for this size it should be absolutely fine. In here we have, looks like some plates of some variety. Yep, ooh, that's quite nice. That's very nicely made. They are delightful. I think these are aluminium, they're much lighter. They look like anodized aluminium. So it looks like some stepper motor mounts, some maybe additional braces for holding things. Don't know exactly what at the moment. I'm sure we'll find out as we go along. I'm guessing these are going to scratch if I put them together. Hopefully they'll be fine. Okay, that doesn't fit back in there now, so that's going up here. More packaging, space filling in here. Here we have a bunch of cables for stepper motors. You could have, I guess you can make your own. I don't know if these are going to be the exact lengths required or if they're general length and you have to cut them down or what. I don't know. But these are some stepper motor cables. That is an optional thing that you can and or cannot have. That's generally how options work. Oh, if you wouldn't mind, don't forget to leave a like on the video. That would be absolutely splendid. I would very much appreciate that. Again, more and more packaging. Looks like a piece of compressed tape. Oh, this is heavy. Blimey. Oh boy, hello. Okay, so there's some more stuff to keep the frame together. These are chunky. In fact, I'm going to need to cut these open. So this looks like a whole load more angle plates for holding the frame rigidly, kind of an L-shaped plate. And these I think are steel because this is a heavy block of stuff. See if I can get these open. Try not to drop them on something that could be damaged. If you do want to buy one, I mean, obviously I've not reviewed it yet, but if you do want to, there is a link in the description one where there's a link to purchase and a separate voucher. So I think that gets you $25 off if I recall correctly. So that would be tremendous if you could use that. That does get me a small kickback as well. So it's a bit like an affiliate voucher link, if you like, just so you know. So I'm not sure if these are aluminium or steel, but there's a whole whack ton of them for holding the whole plate together. And they are really quite nicely finished, actually. It's a shame that the holes are drilled after the finish was put on, but there you go. I mean, I don't think there's going to be any corrosion issues, so that's not really a problem. That's a whole load more parts and more packaging. Next, we have a power supply by WeHo. About what you'd expect. 250 watts, 24 volts. Of course, this is a mains powered bed through a solid state relay. So this won't be powering the bed. This just powers the motors, electronics, any lights or whatever stuff like that. Whereas the power for the bed, which is going to be 600 watts, is all just straight from the mains, so it doesn't go through the power supply. Some more boxes of bits. So Here we've got some in-stop switches and cables, belt, a thing. This could be, it looks like the size of a solid state relay, so it could be that. Although I can't get in the box. Oh, like an animal. How can I not open this box? There we go. Yep, what a good guess. So you've got a solid state relay. Let's give you a bit of a close-up. I know I kind of want to, I'm not trying to rush through it, but I don't want to spend too long just getting everything out of the box because I know people want to get on with the build. But it's obviously interesting to see and know what the components are that we're going to be building with. So trying to give it some time without spending an hour and a half just unboxing things. Packing foam, a BL touch, so that will be used presumably for leveling. That's typically what they're used for. You have 24 volt fans, a 50mm blower and a 10mm fan. A very small lead screw. I don't know what that's for, we'll find out. A pancake stepper motor, 0.9 degree NIMI 17, and this is from LDO Motors. So if you're up on your stepper motors, then you may be aware of LDO already. These are quite big. This looks like a spool holder. Some rather large printed parts there. Looking rather well made too. If I am going too fast, do let me know. I can slow down a little bit. In my opinion, the 30-30 corner plates are the lowest quality part in the build. Not happy with them. Liked the 20 version more and the V Core Pro much more, but they do the job, just a bit more fiddly. That's setting the bar quite high already. Yeah, I mean, the downside of having angle plates like that is it is a lot of fixings. That's one of the reasons I didn't go with it for the workbench. It can just take a long time to assemble. But if that's a cost-effective way of doing it, it's not an assembly process that you do again and again and again, unless of course you're building loads of printers. So swings and roundabouts is not necessarily bad. And this is a huge bag of fixings, spacers. Oh my goodness. It's just a bag of all the things. Maybe you can see, like, there's all sorts of bits and bobs in this bag. Literally all the things. That's going to take some time to sort out. I don't think we need the box right now. We're getting there. Let's get this stuff out. So you got a little card, Ratrig, obviously lots of the video, provided the kit, da-di-da-di-da. You have the bed. So in the bed we have mains power bed, 220 volts. Presumably they will provide US voltage ones for those of you that are in America. On the back of the bed you've got the thermistor for reading temperature right in the middle, and you've got a thermal fuse at the side. In the event that you have some failure where the probe stops working, or for whatever reason part of the bed can get particularly hot, maybe it starts to delaminate, come off, or whatever, in the event of a failure, the thermal fuse will cut the power to the bed when it does get very hot. So just a safety measure as a last line backup to prevent any major problems. Well, you can never really 100% prevent things, but you can definitely help. So here we have a flexible plate powder coated PEI from Prima, 3D Prima. I can't get it out of the packaging. Quite tightly packed in there. Good for keeping it secure, not so great for once it's here. Not a fan of this really big plastic bag. I'd rather try and, if they can find some more renewable options for that, that'd be fantastic. But that looks like that's come from as a pre-packaged set from 3D Prima, so it might take a little bit more to get that changed. So a kind of gold looking flexible plate. Quite cool looking. Yep. So this is the kind of soft magnet type with a spring steel sheet on the top. 3M adhesive, not sure what the bed is rated for in terms of temperature. We'll have to find that out in due course. Yeah, we'll keep. Got to find somewhere to put all these things. And here we have the bed plate itself. A very large piece of very flat aluminium. So trying to handle this without dropping it. It's quite heavy. The packaging is just quite confusing. I'm not sure what to cut to get it out the easiest way. So it does look like a rat ate through the corner of the box at some point. Oh goodness me, how do I get this out? This looks rather nice. So that's the bed plate. Basically a massive whopping thick aluminium plate. Trying to get the camera to focus on that. So nice round corners as well. Typically that's people don't bother with that, but it's nice that it is. Makes it a bit nicer to handle. So that's what the stuff that we just looked at, the heater and the bed surface, that's all going to attach to this as part of the bed structure. If you've seen my channel before, you might have seen me use the same sort of thing. It's quite a good way for doing mains powered beds. Just going to put this stuff all up here together, keep that bed related stuff all in one pile. We're nearly there. So here we have what looks like stepper motors. Typical way to package stepper motors. So NEMA 17s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3Z, X, Y, that's the 5, plus the pancake that we looked at earlier for the extruder. So these are 1.8 degree hybrid stepper motors by LDO Motors. I don't know what makes it a hybrid stepper motor. What's the difference between a stepper motor and a hybrid stepper motor? It's integrated combustion engine. Seems improbable. Have I forgotten something fundamental about stepper motors? Maybe. But that's those. I must find somewhere to place things. And last but not least, oh look, desk space. Right. Oh no, the camera's going to struggle. I'm going to have to put, yeah, I need that box there just for that top camera to stop continually focusing, because it relies on contrast. So if everything's similar color, it tends to struggle a bit. It's similar darkness rather, brightness, whatever. So as you might have noticed, we've not unpacked any like smooth rods. And that's because we have rails. So these are particularly gloopy. They don't seem to have any particular brand written on them that I can immediately see. And they are really, really greasy. Good evening. Closed loop stepper motors, apparently. So there's another one. Oh, I can't actually see anything. I know everything's kind of covered in plastic and oil at the moment, so probably not very clear. Which is the one I cleared off? Oh, I don't even know. Maybe this one? Hold this one up to camera, see if we can give you a closer shot. There we go. So that's the carriage and the rail. That stopper at the end just stops the carriage coming up the end. Packed with lots of oil in there at the moment, so might be a bit of a cleaning job if that's not suitable for its operation. From other companies that like industrially make these kinds of equipment, quite often, well, I talked to one, and they said the machine oil that they actually have on their rails is actually suitable for most of its operation. So if you want to get the very most out of the rails in heavy industrial applications, then they would recommend changing it. But for most things, especially very light applications like 3D printing, it's not actually necessary. There's quite a lot of these rails, isn't there? I'm guessing approximately 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 6 probably. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And are they all the same length? Because that would make things really easy. No, they're not. There looks like 2 different lengths. So there's 2 short ones and 4 longer ones. They do have a bit of a smell to them as well. That's just all the grease. So these are going to go away again. It's going to be probably a couple of streams, I guess, before we get into those. I think we don't need those right now. Okie dokie. So now we've got everything out of the box, it's obviously time to pretty much get on with. Oh, actually, let's open these things. So we'll start with this. So obviously, Duet 3D, again, a sponsor. So this is the. Get this name right. Their names have gone from really, really simple to really, really complex very quickly. This is the Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus and Duet 3 Mini 2 Plus expansion, I think. Basically, it's the kind of smaller version of the Duet 3, a little bit lower cost, not so quite high power output, but still really high quality Duet 3 style, with a very little expansion board that adds 2 extra stepper motors. So let me show you. So what's included? This is just a kind of standard kit, I believe, anyway. So ribbon cable, this is for attaching expansion boards. All the connectors, so for each of the parts on the board, there's obviously different pins connectors required, so those are all provided. Again, some extra pins. From the Duet 2 that I had, they only had like the exact number of pins, which was a little bit annoying, I think. But it looks like here they've got loads of extras. There's a big whopping bag of them here, so that'll be absolutely fine. A cable. This is a micro USB cable to USB Type A, some stickers, business card things. This is the very little expansion board. I'm going to try and be quite careful handling. So let me show you that quick. So this is basically, obviously on its own, it does nothing. But that is basically 2 stepper drivers attached to an expansion board that obviously don't fit on the main board and obviously have some intrinsic cost to these 2 drivers. So you can, if you want the 2 extra drivers, you can buy this to add them on, and they're literally just plug and play, so nothing complicated to configure. But that does give you 2 extra stepper drivers on the lower cost Duet 3. So here we have the Duet 3 main board, Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus Ethernet main board. So it does come in Wi-Fi and Ethernet versions. So this is obviously the Ethernet version. So at some point we're going to need an Ethernet cable. Actually, I think I've got one close by, so that should be fine. Obviously, I'm not going to go through everything. Obviously, you've got stepper motor connectors and stuff down here. You've got your normal array of sensors, inputs, outputs, power and beds and stuff like that. More expansion and all sorts of stuff up here. So all the kind of stuff you'd expect from a quality board, but just a little bit less expensive. In fact, a fair bit less expensive and a little bit less power output than the full size, full fat Duet 3. And this runs Ratrig firmware. So if you're not familiar with that, it's, in terms of usage of the printer every day, it's exactly, you'd use it exactly the same as you do a Marlin based printer, but the configuration and setup is a very different process, and depending on how comfortable you are with either, it can feel quite daunting at first, but in fact once you've got the hang of it, I think it's definitely better. Again, I'm expecting to not need this for a little while, which is why it's going back in the box. It's going to be a while before we need to wire up a control board, I think. This has been a while. How long have we been going? 37 minutes of just getting stuff out of the box. Sorry, I was trying to go quickly, but there's obviously quite a lot to cover. So we've got a Bondtech extruder. Other extruders are obviously available. Bondtech are not a sponsor, so this is a Bondtech extruder. If you want, there's also the E3D Titan you can fit on this. So there are other extruder expansion options. For the hot end, I'm using the E3D V6, but with a slight twist because I already had basically some of the parts that I already needed. So I just bought the bits that I didn't. So I already had a block, I already had a thermistor. So I got a gold heatsink because it was cheaper than the normal heatsink. Somehow, we've got a 24 volt, 30 watt heater, which is standard for E3D V6, as well as heat break, nozzle and everything in there. Again, E3D not a sponsor, but that's what we're using because that's the default configuration from Ratrig. So, can I raise my volume a bit? Not very easily. Oh no, there you go. 1 and a bit decibels. So obviously time to get on with some building now. Just want to run, so we've got a quick 1 minute 55-second sponsor segment to tell you a little bit more about the sponsors for today's live stream, and that'll give me a chance to have get the next stuff ready and to have a bit of a drink. So just literally 2 minutes and we'll be back and ready to go. This live stream would not have been possible without our sponsors, Ratrig, Duet 3D and 3D Printz. The Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus balances value and performance. It's focused on small and medium-sized machines for those that want the quality and reliability of a Duet control board but don't want the high price or high power output of the full-size Duet 3 mainboard. The Mini 5 Plus provides 5 onboard drivers and the normal complement of heaters, fans, I/O, etc. There are Wi-Fi and Ethernet variants with the option of using a single board computer, like a Raspberry Pi, for control, in the same manner as you might with other Duet 3 boards. 3D Printz is a UK-based filament supplier, but in recent times have become so much more. They're now a great destination for finding name brand components from all over the world, such as the Anklab's BL Touch, Wham Bam Systems, flexible build plates, 3D Gloop, Magico, Bondtech, Slice Engineering, and more. If you're in the UK and Europe, and maybe further afield too, you might want to check out their shop for your next printer upgrade. In the UK, you'll also be able to take advantage of their free shipping for orders over £50. Ratrig is a company that you may not have heard of yet, but if you're into DIY 3D printers, or camera sliders, then we're going to change that today. The VCore 3 is a fully configurable CoreXY 3D printer kit. It's gone through several iterations over the years, and all the knowledge and lessons learned have been distilled into the VCore 3. MGN linear rails, low vibration idlers, robust 3030 extrusion frame, and 9mm belts are just some of the key selling points. Today, I'm looking at the 300mm cube default configuration, but it's also available in 400mm and 500mm cubes for those that like their printers big, and with lots of configuration options too. Keep watching to find out more, or if you need more details immediately, you can find the links in the video description. Right. So now that we've covered that, there we go. So we're on to some preparations now. So I'm literally just going to be following the instructions, trying not to be too smart or clever about anything. So the belt is shipped as one piece, cut it in half, belt length according to machine size. So this is a long belt. This is also quite a wide belt. I think it's a 9mm wide belt. So because it's, I mean, your normal belts are 6mm wide, but being 9 obviously increases the width and therefore reduces, well, basically increases the stiffness, stops it stretching so much as you apply force to it. So if I mark that there, yep, let's just do it this way. I was hoping I could reach the whole way, but apparently not the case. It seems odd to cut the belt now, but that's what the instructions tell me to do, so that's what I'm going to do. Exactly in half. Here we go. Side cutters. Didn't see any tools in the box, so tools are not included. So it's probably worth making sure you have a good selection of tools. I mean, being a DIY printer, I wouldn't expect all the tools to be included. It can be quite complicated to narrow down the number of different pieces to only require a couple of tools. So here we go. That's all the belts. Now we can't really fit them in the bag anymore. For a step that's so easy, it does seem a little bit odd that that step's like right at the start, but it is what it is. The printed parts are made with sacrificial layers. So this is what I was talking about earlier. You notice that some holes are blinded with a thin layer of plastic that needs to be removed. You can use a screwdriver, drill, Allen key to make short work of those. So I just got to go through all the parts and look for anything with holes that are kind of blocked up or covered, and we'll find a suitable size drill and we'll drill them out very carefully. Well, fairly carefully. They're amazingly intricate pieces and quite small. That's obviously BL Touch mount. It's funny, isn't it, how you look at a shape that you've seen so many times in terms of like the separation of the holes, immediately like, oh yeah, that's for mounting BL Touch. But not even a question. Not in that piece, not in those pieces. So I've got some there. I'm guessing the holes on these pieces are going to be bigger, so maybe we'll just get started with this lot first. So I'm going to use just a drill, I think, to get these out. We might need... Sometimes when you use a drill, it will push them out, but they'll stay stuck on one side, and I kind of want to clear it out completely. So I'm going to, I've lost my drill. There it is. So what size are these going to be? That looks like 3mm. Yeah, so this is the one I just did here. And you can see how the plastic's kind of still sort of in the hole. So just want to try and clear that out. Might be easier to go the other way. I think that works better. Again, it's got a little bit stuck. It's so tiny, this, isn't it? It's difficult to, even with the macro lens, to show you really what I'm doing. Again, just going to try and grab out some of those extra bits. This feels like it's going to take a while. Is this the same size? Let's try and move it along a bit. Just trying to make sure I've got all the holes, the dangly stuff in here. Looks like it should be okay. Right. There's loads of pieces to do, isn't there? So that looks like that's just bridging. It looks like a hole, but I think it's just a bridge because there's not a hole on the other side, so we don't want to drill through. There's one on that one. Don't think there's one on there. That one's okay. It's okay. That one's okay. Maybe a list of these parts that do need adjustment would be nice to have, or bag them separately so that you don't have to fish through all the parts. You can just immediately see this bag of parts needs this treatment done, kind of thing. That would be quite nice, I think. That's another one like that. That needs work. That does not. That does. Did I miss those? Yep. That one's good. And that one's good. That one's good. That was good. That needs work. That was good. That needs work. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. And that's fine. Let's get the slot back in here. So we've got a bunch of smaller holes. So that was that. So we've got the other one the same. So these look like cement, so these are going to be maybe those from the other side. These ones look like they might benefit from a slightly smaller screw. I mean, those are M5 holes by the look of it, but I've just used this same screw to get them clear. Why do I keep calling this a screw? Drill bit. So quick. These are even larger holes. I'm not sure what size these are meant to be honest. 5.5 kind of fits. I'm not a fan of these overhanging bridgey hole things. It's quite a lot of work to try and clear them out. I made a video on this kind of thing actually a little while back about ways you can get around it. I think ultimately, the idea of having them really clean was nice at the beginning. Now I feel I just want the plastic out. I will just push the screw through when it needs to go through. How is chat talking about hard drives? Oh, looks like I'm putting a bit too much attention into it. I like them clear because it's just, I feel like if you got stuff in the hole, it can get caught in the threads, and then it gets caught in the nut, and then you can't tighten the screw, and then you can't back it out properly either. Just having bits in the way is just a bit of an inconvenience. If you get lucky, then it turns out not to be a problem when you're assembling, but on the off chance that it does get stuck, it can be quite frustrating. That is the slot up here. Right. Consider the preparations prepared. There's lots of the Discord group. Well, glad to see you all. We had, I think, much the same thing when we did the other, the Caribou machine. I think that was quite a Discord group meeting as well. So, pulling in nuts from the back, that's fairly familiar. If you've done assembly of other printers, then there's a little video. So I'll show you how that kind of works. Really quite simple. Take a screw pulls the nut in, pull the screw out. Easy peasy. Just make sure it's nicely installed. I don't think it's saying to do that now, because I'm not going to. Frame assembly, here you go, look at that, that's bulky. So 19 steps, time required, suggested time. For me, on a live stream, probably flipping ages. Let's get going. All measurements in this guide, assume you're assembling a 300 cube machine. As a general rule, add 100 millimeters to the measurements if you're assembling a 400 machine, or 200 if you're assembling a 500 machine. This may not be valid for some of the measurements provided. It would be nice to know exactly which ones, wouldn't it? But let's have a go through and see where we get to. Looks like we're probably going to spend 20 minutes assembling plates first. So I guess we probably want to get this big stack of plates. Oh, it just says 4 for now. I guess we can manage 4, but I think we'll probably need more of those in a little bit. I don't know why I kept all this plastic on it. Seems somewhat redundant, doesn't it? Just gets in the way. And we're going to need to start organising these screws as well, because there's a hell of a lot of this. I feel like today may be quite a lot of preparation, everyone. So is this camera just going crazy focusing again? Oh yes, so I've got, much as I have before, I've got some little containers which I like to lay out to put various screws and things in, so they're available close at hand. I've got a few different ones of various sizes. Those plates are aluminium because that's a magnet. Well, they could be stainless steel, but that seems unlikely. I think it's anodized aluminium. So let's get some of these out. Look at them all. If you were ever under any concern that you wouldn't have enough pieces, or if you were looking for a kit with lots of pieces, that's all. Like a thrust bearer. Cool. So hammer nuts, they can go in there, they can go in there, they can go in there. EVA, so that's going to be later on. Maybe that can go in the back of there. This looks some magnets. This is all the same, M5 by 12. So these are going to be the screws for the frame. So let's get a bunch of those out now. M6 by 12, sorry, not M5 by 12. Those are the feet. We do need those now. Those are Z pieces. M5 nuts, thrust bearings. Man, there's just so many pieces. Spool holder, that's going to be a while away. I'll just put these all in one. In fact, the stuff that we know we're not going to need for a while, let's put it back in this bag. EVA, spool holder. Ah, spare parts kit, then we shouldn't need that. Thrust bearings, don't need those for a while. I think the rest of them are just labelled. It looks like these have all been handwritten. I don't know what CH stands for, but they're all marked CH something. This bag is not labelled. Those are some tiny little washers or spacers. Yeah, not all of them are labelled. I suppose maybe, I don't know. Some have not. I don't know why. M3, M5, M5, M3, M5, M3, M5, M5, M6. I think magnets. Magnets back in the bag. M3, M5. Nuts. M5, 5, 3, 5, 6. Smooth rods, 2020 M3 nuts, LS, low sense, I don't know. These are identifiable, those back in there. This bag is also unlabeled. That's some balls out for the bed. Spacers, don't think we need those. Moment. More spacers, M3s, right, spacers, okay. So what were we doing? 4 plates. Oh, cap head, okay, yeah. I've never seen, so where I've worked, cap heads, like the abbreviation for the type of screw, whether it's button, cap, countersunk, is always 3 letters. So cap just is cap, button BTN, countersunk is CSK. I've just not seen it as 2 letters before. Makes sense though. This is not going to help. I want to get some of the oil off the fixings, but I don't think that's actually going to do anything. 6 by 12s, that was these ones, wasn't it? The unfortunate thing about taking them all out the bag is that I don't know the bag anymore. And then, oh, these by 8, and then the 12s were 5, 5, 5. These are all M5. These are all M3. Oh, and 5 by 18, I'm blind as a bat. Okay, because these require M5, but everything else is M6. Okie dokie. So that's all the M5 by 18s. That's that bag gone, sorted. M6 by 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 4 lots of 3. Rubber foot times 4. Joining plate times 4. M6 drop-in nuts. Going to be 12 of these as well. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And M5 nuts. That's just the 4, yeah. Right, so that scared the living daylights out of me. So no washers, is there? With a foot for the M5 ones, push it through the rubber bit. It's there, that one there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Just trying to push the head of the screw through so I can get a nut on the other side. So this is 2 are mirrored, so like this. Like this. Like this. Like this. Okay, let's do like that. Good. 2, 3, and 4. Okie dokie. Step 1 complete. What's the time now? We're going just over an hour and we completed step 1. Good start. 16 pieces of joining plates. This is why for the Caribou I did all this stuff off stream because it takes ages. So this is just all the remaining plates. 5 screws in each. So, what's everyone been up to lately? Anyone been anywhere? Nice. Yes. I'm really looking forward to exhibitions opening again at some point. The 3D printing exhibitions is such a good time to meet people, meet vendors, have a chat, catch up, meet the people that you see on the internet but don't get to see in real life very often. And of course, see lots of cool 3D printing stuff. Hopefully one day we'll be back there. Anyway, this is talk about 3D printing. Resin printed time lapse. Oh, did you use the you know, the new thing that I've totally forgotten all the people that worked on it, but I think you might know the thing that I mean. That like single cable camera trigger thing. Did you buy one of those? Building a Voron V0. Very nice. I do have plans to do a Voron at some point. I actually have all the printed parts for a, is it the 2.4? I have only the printed parts. I don't have any of the mechanical parts. I was going to buy one of the kits, but I'm not so sure about all of that, so. I like kits like this that are by the sellers, but obviously Voron are not really, that's not their thing. They're a design team, so they don't have official kits. And obviously, I think at the start, especially, they wanted to keep it within a smallish community of very knowledgeable members, whereas now the kits are available, there's obviously a lot more people getting their hands on it, which is good in some respects, but does lend a whole new set of issues. You made your own. James, how did you do that? How did you do that? Did you use the same thing that they did but made your own version of it? Or have you just really literally made your own? Yeah, if anyone has questions or wants to ask anything, now is obviously a really good time to do it because there's not a lot of thinking needs to go on. I just have to put loads of screws in these plates. Buy an AliExpress kit, but prepare for part substitutes. Yeah, that's, especially with changes of control boards and stuff like that. If I did it, it would probably be again one of the things I do on a live stream because I quite do like doing these sorts of things. But if there's part substitutes and I'd be like partway through a live stream and can't finish it because they changed out something that doesn't fit or something, it's just, that'd be a bit annoying. I mean, if I was just doing it myself in the garage or whatever on my own, then I would probably get a kit. But so what I'm looking at doing at the moment is trying to probably scratch build it like it was originally intended. So gathering their bill of materials and using basically a lot of the parts that I already have potentially that hopefully are at least near to spec, maybe like extrusions and stuff like that I can make myself. Oh, this is not going well. Rather than buying the kits. I just fear that if I do it that way, it's one of those things that because you're not buying in any significant quantity, you end up spending twice the price to get the same thing just because you're only buying one of everything or small quantities of everything. You've got cost to buy and ship theirs was so much that I just bought the part from eBay and made it yourself. Good work. I like it. I've not looked into how theirs works or whatever, but good on you. Yeah, it'd be really good, wouldn't it, to have an EU supplier? But it's one of those things where you can only dream. I mean, you know what they say, if you want something done, you've got to do it yourself. By that I don't mean don't be lazy. What I mean is if you would like to see an EU shop, set up a shop that sells Voron kits. Like, I'm not saying that's a good idea. It's not necessarily a bad idea either. It's just one of those things that you can sit there for a long time hoping somebody else will do it. And maybe they won't. So, yeah. So this is how you put screws and nuts together. I'm glad you're enjoying watching me screw hammer nuts into M6 screws. It's really riveting experience. At one point, I'm probably just going to be autopiloting so much that I'll end up putting nuts on backwards and then try and assemble it and it won't work. But I'm glad you think I'm doing it properly. That's technically not what you said, I suppose. I wonder if the number of nuts in here is the exact right amount, because sometimes you get nuts that just are not threaded quite right. We've not had any yet, so that's pretty good. Maybe they've been tested or something. But quite often in a pack of nuts, if they are reasonably low cost ones, they tend to be like some of the threads just don't work. You start tightening them onto a screw and they just jam. Not had any yet, so that's pretty good. So I might as well mention, for those that didn't hear already, there is obviously links in the description to the sponsors. Of course, there's also a voucher for the V-Core3 from Ratrig. So if you use the code V3Vector3D at checkout, you will save some money and I will be paid as a result. So it doesn't cost you anything extra, but gives me a little kickback, which is very much appreciated, and you get some money off a machine that you purchase. So that code is in the description in the first or second line, so it should be very easy to find. Four plates left. There's a giant fly zipping around vomiting digestive enzymes on the surfaces of my room. Oh, that's delightful. Thank you for sharing. That's a very inspiring story you've got there. We're getting there, we're getting there. At least you can't say I'm not providing the real experience. There ain't no smoke and mirrors here. This is exactly what you get. You want the kit, you get a kit. My hands are so greasy. Once I've finished doing this, I'm going to definitely go and wash my hands. Thank you all for joining me this evening as well for the live stream. Hopefully it's going to be valuable. Obviously, some of you it just makes you want to buy it immediately, which I'm much the same when I watch a live stream of cool kits like this. But for those that maybe already have a kit, or those that might be a little bit nervous about building it, hopefully this is going to give you a bit of insight as to what you can expect, what is included and isn't included. Maybe you're not sure about exactly what comes with it. So hopefully this is going to provide all those answers to you. If you do have any questions, especially if they're easy ones, feel free to ask them and I'll do my best to answer what I can. Does the Z-axis carriages hit the corner pieces from so far you can see? Does the Z-axis carriages hit the corner pieces? I was going to say somebody else might be better informed. So I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, this is really a first look for me. I've not, obviously I know what the printer is. I look a bit at the specs and stuff to make sure nobody's going to send me stuff that I'm just not interested in. But I've never used one, I've never set one up, I've never built one before. I've built printers, but not this specific one. So this is going in blind, as it were. Do I plan to build a Voron? I have already answered that question, but maybe you weren't here. Yes, I do plan to. I don't know when. Obviously, we're doing this one at the moment, so it'll be a little while probably. I do have parts, printed parts, but not other parts. Yes. Let's see. Oh, do I have to do more screws on other things? Of course I do. Right. I'm glad I didn't go wash my hands because I've got to do these now as well. 12 more, M6 for 12 screws. This is real content you're getting here, guys. This is the real deal. There's nothing more ground roots assembly than screws and nuts. This is the real deal. So, screw. Oh, we need a bag of nuts back. They don't go through. I don't know how much more we're going to get done this evening, I'm going to be totally honest. This is taking a little while, isn't it? I guess different people enjoy different parts of this. For me, this is maybe not the most enjoyable part of the process, but obviously is required. For the workbench you see behind me, I went for a different strategy of assembly in that I wanted the assembly to be quick, not because it necessarily needs to be, but I just think it's really nice when you get something that is a kit in kind of really raw form, but assembles into something really real, really quick. And I think this will actually quite soon. Once we get all these screws and nuts assembled, I think we'll go from a pile of pieces to a pretty cool looking frame in a fairly short period of time. Do you think more companies should offer a mechanics only option? Are you talking about Vorons or just printers in general? I think it is always nice when companies do provide options to buyers, but at the same time, too many options is also a bad thing. For one thing, it can be a real barrier of entry for those that maybe even are interested but don't have the information or expertise to make a decision, whether it's the right decision or wrong decision. So, and when you say just the mechanics or just the electronics, you then obviously get questions about what about the wiring, what about the interface between the part that I'm buying separately and the part that you're providing, who's providing the bit that goes in the middle. So the more that a company can provide a really like a single unified assembly kit, the kind of better you tend to get integration between them and fewer issues. Which is, I think you see with like the Prusa kits, for example, they provide the whole thing. They don't give you, I mean, they give you very tiny options with like the bed sheet and the color of the parts. That's pretty much it. Last time I checked. Everything else, it is what it is, and you get it and you assemble it. Bit of grease on your hand never hurt anyone. Just wipe them on your trousers. The thing, I can get a bit of a reaction to grease on my hands. That's why I tend to not like it. This one's not too bad, but I've had some of the greases that you get on parts, particularly like that stuff on the rails. Like if I touch some of that, I think it would be a bit irritating on my hands. It can be quite unpleasant. But yeah, generally a bit of normal grease is no problem. It will become way more interesting in a moment. I think you left that comment a little while ago, but yeah, I'm sure it will. It's just, I think that's it. I think with the Caribou, they did their step by step without the preparation. So this is obviously like the preparation step. So you got prepare, and then whoop, build. Whereas the Caribou was more prepare for this step and do this step. So it's like assemble a bracket, put it on, assemble a bracket, put it on, assemble a bracket, put it on. Whereas this is like assemble the brackets, put them all on together. That's my guess about how it's going to go in a second. So let's just double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yeah, so just so you get a decent look at what they look like. There's one up close. So you've got the nuts sticking out the back like this, and the heads on this side. I personally would like to see washers in these, especially on these ones where there's not much contact area. But especially as washers are generally extremely cheap. It's another component to add to that assembly step, which would have slowed down that process even more. And maybe that's one of the reasons why they weren't included. I can't speak for why. But personally, I would much like to see washers included. I know black washers can be a bit difficult to get as well, but there you go. That is what it is. I mean, you can get the I see what you mean, yeah. I mean, do I want more of them? Not necessarily. A few more would be maybe nice. I think the problem is at the moment Prusa has very little competition in the space that they're in, and I think this could be a real challenge for them. So obviously the more we get competition, the more we get prices, and price goes down and features go up as the companies compete to do better than each other. So yes, from that kind of point of view, it's nice to have these kind of DIY kits with maybe electronics not included or something. But ultimately, as I said, options good from my perspective, but not too many. Oh yeah, I do have like 5,000 nitrile gloves. I do sometimes wear them, but when you're doing assembly like this and you've got those little like fiddly bits at the end of the nitrile gloves, that it takes twice as long to do the assembly because you lose all your dexterity by having gloves that don't you just lose some of the dexterity. Those are supposed to be M6. Look like you put an M5. Oh, what? No. 3030 M6, and I used all these same M6 screws. I think it's the only screws I'd have enough of to do this. There's only a few screws. They do look smaller in the holes. Is that what you mean, though? That's what I mean about the washers. The holes in the brackets look big compared to the size of the screw. Hello, 3D printing and painting. Right, I'm going to go and wash my hands for a couple of minutes, so I'm going to play that short sponsor video again. There's not going to be anything to watch in the meantime, so we might as well play that. Just again to say thank you for sponsoring. So just 2 minutes and I shall be just right back. This live stream would not have been possible without our sponsors, Ratrig, Duet 3D and 3D Printz. The Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus balances value and performance. It's focused on small and medium-sized machines for those that want the quality and reliability of a Duet control board but don't want the high price or high power output of the full-size Duet 3 mainboard. The Mini 5 Plus provides 5 onboard drivers and the normal complement of heaters, fans, I/O, etc. There are Wi-Fi and Ethernet variants with the option of using a single board computer, like a Raspberry Pi, for control, in the same manner as you might with other Duet 3 boards. 3D Printz is a UK-based filament supplier, but in recent times have become so much more. They're now a great destination for finding name brand components from all over the world, such as the Antlabs BL Touch, Wham Bam Systems, flexible build plates, 3D Gloop, Magiku, Bondtech, Slice Engineering, and more. If you're in the UK and Europe, and maybe further afield too, you might want to check out their shop for your next printer upgrade. In the UK, you'll also be able to take advantage of their free shipping for orders over £50. Ratrig is a company that you may not have heard of yet, but if you're into DIY 3D printers, or camera sliders, then we're going to change that today. The VCore 3 is a fully configurable CoreXY 3D printer kit. It's gone through several iterations over the years, and all the knowledge and lessons learned have been distilled into the VCore 3. MGN linear rails, low vibration idlers, robust 3030 extrusion frame, and 9mm belts are just some of the key selling points. Today, I'm looking at the 300mm cube default configuration, but it's also available in 400mm and 500mm cubes for those that like their printers big, and with lots of configuration options too. Keep watching to find out more, or if you need more details immediately, you can find the links in the video description. Right, so we're onto what looks like starting to get some frame engaged, which is rather exciting. Again, just trying to keep my parts at least a little bit organised. So for the next step we need 420, 440 and 450, so we've got a bunch of those here. It looks like 2 550s, 450s, yep. And then that short one is a 420, and there's one of those. And then these are all 440 in here, but it looks like we only need one at the moment. So I'm going to carefully try to nail it. Yeah, these ones got even extra packaging. Packaging on packaging on packaging. Oh, we needed two. Inner frame extrusions. Electronics frame. Prepare the 3030 extrusions. For 40, 450, 420, attach 6 corner brackets to the ends of the vertical extrusions. Okay, so the 440 marked in red the 420 is in the middle and the 450s are at the sides. So 420, 440. My desk is already looking too small. Brilliant. That didn't take long, did it? Uh, 440, 450. Nope, I've done that wrong. Hang on a minute. That's 420. That's 450. Oh, okay. It is like this. And then you have some space down here. So we need some Allen keys now. Well, one really. For this, which is what size? 5mm Allen key. Let's go back to the instructions view, so we can all see what the hell's going on. Are you talking about the same tape measure? Size in inches on the back of it and not in centimeters. I've got centimeters one side, inches other. Yeah. I was looking boron kit frame kit where I can get the 2020 colour for £40 and work out 170 gram kit. Yeah. I've got a square. 1, 2, 3 blocks, I think, is a bit of an American thing. Obviously, being the whole inches and everything. I'm sure there's equivalents here, but I think we call them something different if they do exist in the same way. Right. I've just lost something over there, haven't I? Yep. And now there's packaging in the way. I'm back. So, what is this? I think that the end image is the easiest to go off, isn't it? Another reason why I want washers in here, I don't know if you just noticed when I tighten it down, but now because of its proximity to the edge of that hole, as I tighten this screw, it can move this bracket quite easily. I think if there were washers on there and that load was spread over a larger area, it would just focus on the downwards pressure rather than rotational, which would help with the alignment and everything. I mean, this is the thing about washers, because they're just so cheap. Like, if you've never bought washers, you might not realise this, but they are really, really cheap. So there's 2 on that one. Two on that one. I don't know why I rotated it. And another 2 here. That's all around. That wants to be like this. So, are you seeing that when I? No, you can't. You can see it when I do it this way. It's quite difficult because the movement's not big. You see how when all I'm doing is tightening and it moves the screw. And so when I let go of the bracket and I'm tightening it more, that's going to move the bracket. it didn't quite there. But I mean, it's a little bit frustrating. It's to be honest, it's really not the end of the world. But for the price of a washer or a set of washers, I think it would be nice to have. And I'm here to provide my opinion, right? That's half the point. I'm gonna now that other people have acknowledged the washers, I'll try my best to stop complaining about the washers. There's no assembly procedures such as you're kind of left to your own devices to try and get it square. So, I mean, there's not a lot really you can do about the squareness. It will be what it be. I wonder if I have some M6 washers. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. I think it would be nice to suggest an assembly. Oh, how did I get? Damn. It's like perfect. It would be nice to suggest an assembly procedure in here, like an order in which to do it. So the order I'm doing it, I am thinking reasons to do it. So you probably noticed there, I kind of tightened this one into this and then loosened that and retightened this. So firstly, I'm getting this bracket, the right height on here, and then this, and then this. Does that make sense? Probably not. No, that joint's not good. So what we got to, in order for this to be square, the bracket has to be kind of square in the joint as well. And we of course want to make sure that everything's flush. So when I was feeling there with my hands, with my fingers, brushing my finger across this part here, I could feel that this was too far this way. So it was like sticking out on one side and in on the other, like in on the bottom and out on the top. So just going to try and retighten this in a way that gets everything nice and square. Easy said than done. I wonder if there's a jig that one could easily 3D print. May not be able to reach the necessary tolerance, to be honest. Could be interesting to try and get a jig to help you get this square. That's a bit better. So that's flush with the end of there. I want this. this one. The exact thing was the reason for many swear words during my assembly. I absolutely hated those brackets when I was done. Yeah. One of the challenges Ratrig has is they're building stuff out of off-the-shelf parts. Like there seems to be some customization in the parts that they have here, but many of them are standard off-the-shelf. For example, from what I've seen so far, there's no reason for their design to have the slots in the brackets. But if the brackets that are available have slots in them, then that's what they've got to work with, right? So if it was up to me, I wouldn't bother with slots in this assembly. That doesn't help. In fact, it makes it a bit more awkward to tighten the screws. But it's difficult for me to complain about it if I can't also suggest a solution. And obviously the solution is maybe different brackets, but like not really necessarily viable in terms of cost. That's not very... Sorry, 5, but down here that's 210. That's 5mm different top to bottom. Oh yeah, that's probably right. Oh no. I've got an idea. Don't need that on immediately, do I? I can use this face to get the 205 from this side. And once that's in the right position, the problem I was having, let's see, that gap doesn't look quite tight either now, is that if you're, let me show you with this one. If, I'll show you from this top-down view. If this is not quite in line, then either the bracket is too high up, and then this will have a kind of big moment where it can wobble about this screw. If it's too far down, then as you tighten it down, it's going to skew all this way. So you have to be very careful with getting the end of these two parts really, really perfectly flush, which is a big challenge in assembling these loose brackets, especially when you're trying to get them to precise dimensions at the same time. Hopefully that's going to be okay. Yeah, I think the brackets are kind of standard design, but I'm not getting very good compression in these corners. It's not ideal. I want a clamp also to kind of go across here so I can loosen these. Let's have that side. I think that side's okay. Again, I think another issue is the coating of the paint on these brackets. So these brackets I actually have some of as their standard off-the-shelf type, and I think they're the kind, well, they're normally just aluminium, and it looks to me like there's a thick coat of powder coat or something on this, or just paint. It's probably powder coated, and because it's not quite uniform, in fact the bracket underneath is probably not as well, but when the thickness of the powder coat is not uniform, it's going to pull in one direction, even if it's just a fraction of a degree. That's still quite a lot in terms of the distance between here and here. So I'd say that's spot on 205 there. Down here it's 207-ish. 5, 6, 7.5, maybe nearly 208. Which is not, it doesn't sound like a huge distance, but when you're told the 205 is important, one assumes the 205 is important. This one feels way more solid. I think, to be honest, I would also prefer not hammer nuts for this part of assembly. Hammer nuts are really good for adding things in after the fact, like maybe these plates. I think this is fine when you, presumably at the end, we're going to chuck that over there and tighten it all down, and it will reinforce that corner. But for this part of the assembly, I think it'd be really nice to have the other type of nut that can only slide in from the end. I think that would help when you're trying to jigger everything about for the bracket to kind of not fall out, and you can tighten it a little bit and you know it won't come back out. I think that would be also a really nice addition. Hopefully they're not going to hate me after this stream. I'm not trying to bash it, I'm just trying to provide as much information and feedback to everyone as I can. Totally happy to help with solutions and implementation if needed. So that's the two ends, sides in rather. So if we now try and push this one over to align with the 205 that we have at the top. Just quite a long way. Out there. Not too bad. Since this is part one, how far do you think I'll make it? Not very far. What's the time now? It's already 9:30. I'll probably only do another half an hour today. I can't do much more than that. So obviously we spent quite a lot of time getting everything out of the box today, which we won't need to do next time. The one thing I'm not sure about at the moment is how often I'm going to be doing these. Do I do it again tomorrow? Do I do it once a week? Do I do it every other night? I'm not sure what's going to work best at the moment. So I've got no indication of what this is meant to be, but that's 651 millimeters. And in this direction, it's 650. There's about 1 mil difference, I think, on those diagonals. I think we'll call that good enough, because I don't think I'm going to be able to improve it. Tomorrow, please. Trouble is, I'm working all through the day and stuff. I don't know if I have the physical capacity to to do a live stream every evening. We'll see. It might be a little bit random, so I do apologise for that in advance, but we'll do it as much as we can. Which makes the frame easier to assemble, but not as rigid as the brackets. These are web ones end up 350. Oh, in terms of rigidity. Loosely attached 6 corner brackets. Don't worry about alignment, or you will adjust the position in the moment. Ah, will we now? Oh, okay, that one's in there. Tightened it a little bit. That's what that looks like. This one. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to washers, man. I won't mention it again, but washers. Okay, that is all the brackets now. Optional. Inner frame panel. I do not have frame panels, sadly. That would be quite cool to have, but I don't have them, so we shan't be doing that. Caution, these lengths are very similar. Do not mix them up. Prepare 2 505s and 4 510s. They are very similar. Let me go measure them. 505. How many 505s was it? 2 505s and 4 510s. 510. That's the 510s. That's not. That's 505. Okie dokie. So that's the 2 505 510. things. A bit more of the aluminium cuttings in this one. What size was this? That's what, 505? So that's two 505, so we don't need these two. How many of these was it? 4, 5, 10, so all of them. Assemble frame sides. Oh my days. So we actually don't need this part of the frame that we've now got here. So we probably want key 2 of those, 1 of those. So attach the corner plate assembly to Z extrusions, the 510. So this one out the way. These go like this. And that goes down here. But so these are going back to back on the corners. It's always difficult to check if the hammer nuts have actually engaged properly. Sometimes they can feel like they have, but they're just clamping directly up against the plate rather than actually grabbing the extrusion. Sorry. I've got really bad at moving that camera. Or not moving that camera. I believe that's what the intention was. Looks right. So we have to do the same at the top, which is now going to be more difficult. That's that one on. It's really difficult to get these plates really nicely lined up. As I'm tightening it down, I find that it slips down away from the end, which is kind of bizarre, but you people and your probes. Let's keep this family friendly, shall we? Next one. Hopefully my position of these plates is not going to come back to bite me in a minute. And turns out they're all in the slightly wrong position. That would be a minor inconvenience. No, looks like this should be okay. So now we've got 2 extrusions like this, and 1 extrusion. This is going to be difficult. Let's do it this way. This is going to also be difficult. Oops, daisy. My advice to anyone doing this is make sure you've got a really big desk. Wrong box. The Allen keys are Wera, W-E-R-A. They've got a few different kind of sets with different finishes. They've got like stainless steel ones, but yeah, they are very nice. They're really good. The only downside is because they're ball end, which is useful to have to get into small spaces. It means that if you want to do things like put the screw on the end and like get into a place, that can be a bit more difficult because obviously the screw can rotate at the end. And also if you have like poor alignment, you need to kind of force it into place. Obviously you can't force a screw to go in a direction when you've got a ball end. It doesn't really do that. So still useful to have other sets of Allen keys for different jobs. But yes, thank you very much for your compliment of my Allen keys. They are quite expensive, but if you use them all the time, I think it's worth it. Plus, good tools last, I say forever. They last a very long time. So you can spend, I think it's good to spend a bit more on some tools that you're using a lot of. And I realise you can't see this. Ooh. Plastic sheathing got loose. You must have used those a lot. Why did I get this out and then not use it? The point was to check that it was, I suppose I can use it just to check and then we'll... Well, that's... It's a smidge off. Let's see if we can improve it. It's one thing to measure that something's not square. It's another to actually improve it so that it is. So as I'm holding it here, I'm holding this against this face, and then the rest of my hand is like rotating to push it down here. So that's now pretty bob on. Happy with that. Let's check the other side. That's miles out. So again, we'll loosen it off. This is bizarre. Nice. What you can do is obviously 3D print. TPU is a great material for printing holders and things like this for tills, and TPU is virtually indestructible. Obviously, provided you have an extruder that you can deal with those softer filaments, you'd be hard pressed to damage your TPU. Damn, we need another one of these. The colours on these tools I actually really like. What I dislike is the selection of colours that they've chosen. For example, the 2 and 2.5 are nearly the same colour. The 3 and the 8 are pretty much the same colour. I mean, I know 3 and 8 are a long way apart, but 2 and 2.5 are not that dissimilar. So it'd be nice to go, oh, 3, that's the green one, and then you look, where's the green one? Oh, it's in that pile of rubbish over there. But because 2 and 2.5 are so close in size, and they're also close in colour, it's difficult to you don't get that colour association, which would be really helpful. Obviously 3 and 8 are quite difficult to mix up, but again, it would be nice if their colours were different. So the brackets go on the 2 longer ones, don't they? We do have quite a lot of viewers, but only 61 likes. So if you would very kindly leave a like on the stream, that would be hugely appreciated. The like button should be just below the left side of the video, or on mobile, it's just below the video. Both times, just below the video. And you know what? If you're liking it a lot, probably worth subscribing, because there's going to be a fair few of these little live streams now. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of building to do. So if you're keen to make sure you don't miss an episode, subscribing is probably the best way to do that. I do generally announce it on Twitter, but I do sometimes forget, and sometimes the tweets go out at the wrong time because I schedule them, but put the wrong time on them by accident, like happened today. So the best way is to make sure you're subscribed, because you'll almost probably certainly get a notification from YouTube that would only be a couple of minutes late at most. I licked the smash button. Is that supposed to be liked the smash button? Because so many people say smash the like button. Don't lick the buttons. Yeah, YouTube notifications are not perfect, but they're probably more perfect than I am in remembering to do things. The reason I'm doing this weird thing when I'm putting it on is because it aligns all the nuts, because normally they're all just like all over the place, but if you like sit them on the edge like that, it helps align them so they sit straight in. Handy little trick, save you some time aligning all the nuts when you're trying to do this part. We're getting there, come on. That looks okay. That's one. Now let's see the other one. I just remembered it is a bank holiday weekend here in the UK, which means, well, technically the bank holiday is the Monday, which is tomorrow. For those that don't know how days of the week work. So that means I should be able to do another one of these tomorrow evening. Probably the same time, as long as I'm prepared enough during the day. There'll be, like there was today, there'll be a little kind of schedule thing on YouTube that comes up a bit earlier. So if there's not, then there's maybe less likely that I'll actually do it. Ooh, getting there. This is the last two plates. The other four there, if you can see them, probably can, maybe on camera somewhere. The other four are the ones with the feet on, which will obviously be part of this as well. But this is the last two of this instruction. Right, let's get this on here. How did we do it last time? I think standing up was actually quite good, wasn't it? So, tighten them mostly, just by hand. Oh, get the square back out, don't know why I put that away. That's good. Happy with that. And the last one. What the hell? In you go, there we go. Right, it is coming up towards 10 o'clock. In fact, that was dot on 10 o'clock now by the looks of it. 10 p.m. So this is going to be the last step for today. So we've obviously not finished the frame, but looks like start of the next stream we should get this frame polished off. So we're really close. So looking forward to get these 3 assemblies into something that really starts to look like a frame. There's 4 extrusions, and it's all going to come together just like that. It's going to be one hell of a unit. But as that's 10 o'clock, I'm exhausted, and that's what we're going to end it with today. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, of course, very much to the sponsors of today's live stream. Of course, Ratrig, who provided the whole kit, minus the Duet control board, kindly provided by Duet 3D, and the Extruder, thanks to 3D Printz. So please check their links in the video description. Of course, there's a voucher code for the Ratrig as well, the VCore 3, which is what we're building. How much is that straight ruler? This one? That's a bizarre question. I have no idea. A few pounds? I don't think they're particularly expensive. Although it says Fisher, Japan. I don't know if that's an expensive brand. It's a steel ruler. Anyway. The one from the box you opened up. Oh, this is... Ah, yes. This is more expensive. This is not a ruler. This is a square, a precision square. It's a 4-inch precision square to British standard 939. So it does nothing apart from be heavy and be 90 degrees. So it does those 2 things quite well. So nice and good for assembly. But this was, I think, maybe like £30 or something. They're not particularly cheap, but you keep it in a case with a little bit of oil on its surface and it'll last for a very long time. So yeah, before we go, don't forget to like the stream if you enjoyed it. Hopefully you did. Hopefully that, I mean, we've obviously not done a whole lot of it yet, but hopefully what we have done has been valuable for those of you who wanted to see certain things, especially about the unboxing, what's included, what's not included, and that sort of thing. Obviously, bunch of the frame done so far. There's still parts of the frame to go and a hell of a lot more after that. So not exactly sure when the next stream is. As I said, it could be tomorrow, but I'm trying to not work too hard because I tend to overwork. So maybe I'll keep that day to myself. We'll see. Might do it in the evening. There'll be a notification on YouTube and probably on Twitter. So get subscribed so you don't miss out. So it's a good night from me, and thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, and yep, stay safe. See you soon. Bon voyage. All the goodbyes. Ta-ra.